All right. Remember, Daniel was one of the three who was appointed as rulers, and he was the top. He was in charge of even the other two presidents as well. So he was one of the three presidents, and he was even in charge of the two beside him. He was the top king's advisor. Remember, the other two were very jealous and they wanted to get rid of him, and they knew that he would pray to his God every day. So these jealous men go to the king. The two presidents and several princes came before the king with their request. King Darius, live forever, their spokesman said. All of the presidents, governors, princes, counselors, and captains have consulted together. This was a lie, of course. All the leaders had not consulted together. They had left out Daniel, the chief of the presidents. All of us have consulted together, the lying leaders continued, and we would like for you to make a law stating that any man who prays to any god or man for 30 days except you, O king, should be thrown into the den of lions. The king was flattered. His chief men were indeed loyal to him. The law would make him great in the eyes of all his people, and he liked that idea very much. Their flattery may have kept him from asking if all the presidents, governors, and leaders had agreed to this, and thus he did not even consider Daniel. Now, O king, to establish this wonderful law, you need to sign it so that it cannot be changed according to the law of the Medes and Persians, the plotting politicians said. The Medes and Persians believed that once a law was signed by the king, even he did not have power to change the law. King Darius was pleased with the new law. It would exalt him in the eyes of the people and make his position as king honored and secure. Darius happily signed the decree, making it into a law that could not be changed. For many years, Daniel had practiced the habit of praying 3 times a day, at morning, at noon, and at night. No doubt he prayed at other times as he went about his work, but he set aside those 3 times each day to do nothing but talk to his God. Do you have a time when you talk to God every day? You probably pray before meals, before a test at school, or when you are tempted to do something wrong. But it is important to also have a special time each day when you pray and read God's Word. Maybe not 3 times a day like Daniel, but at least once a day. Daniel had a special place in his house where he went to pray. It was a room with windows that opened toward Jerusalem, where the temple of God had been before it was destroyed by the Babylonians. For several years, Daniel had been praying at his window facing Jerusalem. Daniel prayed for his Jewish people that they would truly be sorry for their sins. He confessed their sins and his own sins to God. He asked for forgiveness. He prayed that his people might be restored to their land of Israel. When Daniel heard about the new law that King Darius had signed, he did not stop praying, for praying was an important part of his life. He could not stop. 3 times a day he continued to pray to God with his windows open toward Jerusalem. He did not go to a dark closed closet to pray, or cover the windows so no one could see him praying. No, Daniel prayed at his open window just as he had always prayed. Daniel decided he would keep on praying just as before, even though he knew the consequences could be a horrible death in a den of lions. No matter the cost, Daniel would be true to his God. As Daniel prayed, his enemies were nearby, just waiting to hear him pray, and sure enough, they saw and heard him praying to his God. Satisfied that they had succeeded in their plan to get rid of Daniel, they immediately rushed to the king. Daniel's enemies could hardly wait to accuse him to their king. They probably were very excited as they gathered before King Darius. The spokesman said, "O king, did you not sign a law that anyone who prayed to any man or any god other than you for 30 days would be thrown into the den of lions?" The king answered, "Yes, indeed I did, according to the law of the Medes and Persians, which cannot be changed." "Well," went on the spokesman, "we think you ought to know that Daniel, the captive from Judah, does not obey your law, O king. He is continuing to pray to his God 3 times every day. We have seen him and heard him." The king's heart sank. He realized that he had been tricked. How could he throw his most trusted president to the lions? King Darius admired and loved Daniel. He depended very much on Daniel's wisdom. Could he possibly find a loophole in his law so he could save Daniel from death? Darius tried his best to find a way to deliver Daniel from the lion's den, but the enemies of Daniel kept reminding King Darius that no law of the Medes and Persians signed by the king could ever be changed, and they probably said that if he ever changed a law, he would lose the respect of all the people of his kingdom. There was no other way but to put Daniel into the den of lions, and so with great sorrow King Darius gave the command. Soldiers went to Daniel's house and arrested him. He had not suffered such treatment since his younger days when he had been taken from Jerusalem as a captive. They brought him to the opening of the den. The hungry lions could be heard growling as they paced back and forth below. King Darius paced nervously nearby. He said to Daniel, "Thy God, whom thou servest continually, he will deliver thee." With the growls of the ferocious beasts far below, Daniel was lowered into the den. Quickly the den was closed and sealed with a double seal, that of the king and also that of the lords. Daniel's enemies were taking no chances. They wanted no one to be able to get Daniel out of that den. Satisfied that they had gotten rid of Daniel at last, they left the den of lions to return to their homes for the night, and King Darius returned to his palace. As Daniel was lowered into the dark den amidst the growling lions, to his amazement, the huge lions did not jump on him. They did not even snarl. They came close to him but did not harm him, for God had sent his angel and closed the lions' mouths. Maybe Daniel smiled as he curled up to go to sleep for the night. Close to him was a lion. Perhaps Daniel pillowed his head on its soft body. Surely he must have praised God as he rested that night. Meanwhile, King Darius got no sleep that night. His servants urged him to eat, but he refused to taste a bite of food. He had no appetite. He dismissed the musicians that came to entertain him. He could only think about what might have been happening to Daniel. As soon as day began to dawn, King Darius pulled his royal robe about him and commanded a servant, "Take me to the lion's den at once." Others joined him as he left for the lion's den. Once there, the king had the seal broken and the stone removed. He then peered through the darkness into the den. He called to Daniel in a pitiful voice, "Daniel, servant of the living God, is your God whom you continually serve able to deliver you from the lions?" Daniel did not forget his manners, even in a pit surrounded by lions. "O king, live forever," he politely answered. "My God has sent his angel and has shut the lion's mouth that they have not hurt me, because I am innocent of doing anything against God or against you, O king." The king was overjoyed to hear Daniel's voice. He called for his servants to come at once and lower the ropes into the den so Daniel could be pulled out. To everyone's amazement, Daniel climbed out, none the worse for having spent a night with the lions. Once again, God took care of his servant who trusted in him, and God showed his great power to a heathen king. Then the king commanded that Daniel's accusers and their families be thrown into the den. This time there was no angel in the den to protect them. The starving lions leaped upon their bodies and broke them to pieces before their bodies reached the bottom of the den. Their jealousy had finally destroyed them and their loved ones. King Darius made another decree, sending it to all people in his empire. He commanded everyone to fear and to tremble before the God of Daniel, because, as he said, he is the living God and steadfast forever, and his kingdom that which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall be even unto the end. He delivereth and rescueth, and he worketh signs and wonders in heaven and in earth, who hath delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. Thus the heathen King Darius came to believe in the true God. When King Darius came to know the Lord, multitudes of people heard about the true God, and all because Daniel had been faithful to his God. Will you dare to be a Daniel and stand up for what is right, even though everyone else is doing wrong? Even when others may try to hurt you for it? Remember, God is the ruler of the lions, the kings, and all of mankind, and he will never let any harm come to you that is not in his perfect will. Daniel loved God more than fame, more than friendship, more than life itself. And God took care of Daniel and used his testimony to tell many people about himself. Let's ask God to make us true to him like Daniel was.